This video is an unscripted coaching session where we help the client identify and clarify her biggest goals in her coaching business, and then also put strategies to make them happen. And we talked about how to actually attract the people that you want to attract. It's a really good session. Is there anything you want to catch us up on?
I just think it was a very powerful conversation for me. And I think that's what I really love about coaching, that you just get these nuggets that you go away with. And for me, what really sort of landed was I can't lose what I already have, because I think that was my big fear, push, you're going to lose it, and that I will be okay. It's going to be okay. And it really has allowed me to just take that pressure off. And as you said, sort of turn that into my manifestation, not my manifestation. Yes, no, my like kind of mantra, that I can't lose what I have already learned. And sometimes that's all you need, right? Just that sort of one nugget, and it totally shifts how you are approaching things, how you're looking at things. So it really calmed me down. It's really calmed me down and given me a bit of space. So that's, it's been great. And then it's actually been very busy. I keep on doing my seeker interviews, and I have a lot of introduction coaching sessions set up over the next few weeks and signed new clients. So actually the next few weeks are really, really busy. So it's going to be
That's fantastic.
Massive advocate of the seeker interviews.
Oh, that's amazing.
I love hearing that.
Yeah. One of the things that we've been talking a lot about is just getting more and more clear is how important it is to remove pressure, especially with anything that's creative. So if we're creating content as a coach, whether it's YouTube videos, articles, LinkedIn posts, whatever it is, it's really difficult to create cleanly if we are pressurized. And usually the pressure comes from the demand and the expectation that this produces something tangible that we want, or produces it in the time that we want. So when we have those, which is I'd say the majority of people's experience with goal setting. Goal setting is, I want this exact target at this time. And usually the target is crazy big and the time is yesterday. And if either of those don't come true, well then, life's not fair. I'm dramatizing it just a little bit, but most people have a negative association, and it's really a function of the expectations that are set on the process. But that's usually because of pressure that we have. So a single thought, like nothing can be taken away from me that I already have, or that's in my body, or that is in my mind, or that I've learned. And the other piece to that, I think, is that the things that are most important to us cannot be taken away. And yet the things that we're afraid are going to be taken away, or the things that we're trying to add on to us, are actually not that important to us. So many of us are flipped. We're backwards in what we're valuing and what we're afraid of and what we're seeking. So just a single thought can change everything and depressurize, like literally depressurize your system. Your nervous system, your thought system, your belief system. You start to see patterns differently. And so I'm really happy that we ended the session last time after a big shift. And now we're coming back, and maybe the goals are different. Maybe they're bigger. Maybe they're the exact same. Maybe they're slightly different. I don't know. But it's really important to now do this work from a clean, clear, healthy, aligned place. Because I think if somebody is misaligned, it doesn't matter if you set the right goal, and it doesn't matter if you set a smart goal, and it doesn't matter if you have the right game plan. If you're misaligned from the start for any reason whatsoever, pretty much everything after that can't work. And even if you hit the goals, which is the story of many people, you hit misaligned goals. And so they don't provide what you thought they would provide. They don't feel fulfilling, or they're not your goal, or they're not designed to go to another level. Like there's just so many different ways of misalignment getting in the way, and then it just messes up the whole process. So that's what I feel has happened with you, that you've
Mm.
gone through. And then I know you've done a lot of your own stuff, and you were just telling us before the video about certification that you've gone through and a huge breakthrough. And I think you made a really important comment that we can't do this on our own. Not the real deep work, right? We just can't do this on our own. So if there's anything more that you want to speak to that, feel free. You don't have to, before we get into the goal setting system or
Yeah,
process.
no, I mean, exactly that. I mean, the NLP course I just did, it just, I want to learn so much more. You know, I'm only like just over a year into running my business. I did my like ICF certification. Now I've done NLP, and there's so much out there, and I want to learn it all for myself so I can continue finding out who I am and learn, you know, just developing myself. And obviously everything I'm doing for me, I can do for my clients. So yeah, I just think it's like I coaches, you know, should never stop the learning process, because we have to keep on doing it on ourselves. And exactly that, like the stuff that I discovered about myself during NLP, there's no way I could have gone that deep without the support of someone else. There's no way. It blew my mind when you know, these sort of revelations came out. I was like, what? Where did this come from? And yeah, I think that's also the power of coaching, that's what we're there to do, right? To show people what they want to know, but they don't know what they need to know. They don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, that's it
Sense.
right there. We don't know what we don't know. And if we
Yeah.
don't know what we don't know, then obviously we can't fix anything or heal anything that we're not aware of, or connect any dots that we're not aware of. So you doing the work on yourself is everything. And there's an element of coaching that we're also focusing on quite a bit recently, which is just leadership. Coaches who are leaders and coaches who are clients and coaches who are students operate differently than I think what a lot of what's driving the coaching industry is. Just what information can I put on a website or put in a package behind a price tag that I can sell and, you know, win through sales. And what's so like mind-boggling and sad is that most people don't even like, they're not even lit up by that at all. They don't like sales. They don't like just moving people through. And yet that's just kind of the default programming almost. And marketing, I'd say, in the coaching world, like that's just kind of the default system that people fall into, because whether we don't value it or we don't want to do the leadership and the learning, you know, as a student, and the getting coached as a client. But if you have those three things, like if you're really focused on leadership and you are a client and you teach like a student, it's amazing what you can create with that recipe. And then there, of course, is the entrepreneurial stuff, which is a slightly different conversation.
Yeah.
But let's jump into some goals. Michelle, is there anything you want to add to the conversation before we get into some Alice goals?
I mean, only about a million things like this. I mean, this is, I believe very deeply in what you've done and what both of you have just articulated. I think I believe Sean said this before we started recording, but we actually can't take anybody to a place that we haven't gone ourselves. We don't know what it's like to have that internal capacity, and our client, the people that we're in relationship with, they'll know too. So I truly believe that the investment, right, in energy and time and effort and financial as well, that we're putting into our own work, right, it allows us to show up in just a way that is so much deeper, and actually brings with it a lot of the things that, you know, we teach in our certification programs, and you were sharing that you learned, right, about rapport, right? Because when you've really been in that space, in that vulnerable moment, or you've been in a conversation about your goals, right? Or strategy or whatever on the spectrum we're getting coaching support. When we've been that and experienced that as a client, we know. And we don't know from the theory of what we learned in terms of execution. We know in our body of how we felt in that moment. And so we bring that, we can't not bring our body into the coaching. So yeah, I believe that if you've been on this channel and heard me speak at all, I think you know that I believe that our own personal work is some of the best investment we can make in our relationship with our clients, like for our business. Yeah. Because all the theory in the world, all the training in the world, if we don't experience it, if we don't have that like implemented experience, it just lands differently. Like we talk different. There's a different, and it can't be faked, you know, like it's not like, oh, I'm going to say that thing that Alice said or that Sean said. Like it's just, there's a resonance when you've been there and you've done it and you get it, even if the details are different, that people feel. And I actually believe that that's one of the things that facilitates, like not the only thing, but one of the things that facilitates the safety. And we've done a couple of videos. We can certainly link to them here in this video on coaching like a client and, you know, what it really means to hold space, things like that. So yes, I love it. And I'm really happy. Congratulations for you and for your clients.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is the deeper work, that the under the surface work that is required to then do a process that for a lot of people seems simple, like goal setting. But if we're not aligned from the beginning and we don't recognize how we might be holding ourselves back or what these goals actually mean to us and what are we really chasing, then it doesn't matter. And I would say whenever I've been teaching goal setting recently, I usually ask a question: how many of you have some kind of negative association to goal setting, some kind of resistance? You don't like doing it at all, or you don't know if you're going to be able to achieve it or something. And I would say probably 75% of the people raise their hand and say there's negativity associated to goal setting. And so there's no right way to set goals if you've got a negative association to it. Like, it doesn't matter. That's like almost like a non-starter, meaning like it doesn't, like that has to be fixed, right? Otherwise, the only safe goal setting would then be to set safe goals that either you know you're going to hit or you know like you have no chance at hitting. And neither one of those are going to really do much of anything, right? They're not going to grow you, but it's just easy for us to give up on some of the really, really big ones. Anyway, so we can go on and on about the underbelly of goal getting and achieving and what does it actually look like. We'll continue to do that, just not in this video, unless we do. We'll see what comes out. So Alice, woman of the hour, what are your now goals? Not like to achieve right now, but from this moment in time, after all the things that you've experienced, what is it that you want to create?
So I'm looking at the side because that's.
I like that you're looking at something, which tells me that something's written over there.
Yeah, I have a little diagram. So I think what I want to achieve hasn't changed, but how I want to achieve it, has changed a bit. So my big goal is that I really want to do in-person retreats. And, you know, we spoke about this a bit before, that, you know, my love for connecting and talking and actually my performance side. And I think that's where the in-person retreat, I really love being with people, the energy of being around people, that connection. So that is like, that has always been my vision. And my intention was always that I would do the one-on-one coaching so I can really understand what are my clients' needs. You know, you get loads of information and then from that you can build like a 2-day workshop. So I'm calling it a retreat, but a retreat / 2-day workshop. That's sort of the big end picture. And then before that, it would be having like an in-person course. And then the level before that is having like a digital product. And then before that, it's having an engaged audience, because I need the engaged audience to sell the online course. And then they would obviously upsell to the in-person course, and that's an upsell to the retreat. So I am right now at the creating an engaged audience. And my sort of 3 pillars for doing that is a podcast, which I spoke to you about, that is definitely something I really want to do. I'm going to kick that off. Getting more people signed up for my newsletter, and getting more of an engaged audience on LinkedIn. So those are my the 3 things I want to focus on over the next 3 months. And then if I can build up this engaged audience, then I keep on going up the funnel. And then obviously coming off those 3 areas, podcast, newsletter, LinkedIn, there are lots of different things. Podcast, it's like read something, because I know nothing. I thought like just get a microphone and start talking, but apparently it's a bit more complicated than that. So step 1, do some research. For my newsletter engagement, I want to create like a quiz that I think will be interesting for my audience, that I could put in my posts on LinkedIn and say, you know, hey, do this quiz, get the results, and I get the information. And I want to create other products. I don't know what those products would be, you know, to engage people, to get them to sign up. And then LinkedIn, it's a little bit continue what I have been doing. But I do feel like since doing this training, I feel like there's just a part of me that's like, ugh. You know, like when it comes to social media, sometimes it just, I don't want to be on there. Like, people are just so aggressive, and I just feel like I've kind of found this softer side of me. And I just, maybe it's the people I'm following, but there's just, so like, sometimes it just feels like everyone's just shouting, you know, like shouting, like not really selling their product, but I know they are really selling. And I had basically like a full week off while I was doing this course. And then I just feel like my style has changed. So I'm rambling a bit, but I feel like another thing that has come out of this is that I really want to find what's my brand, what is my voice now, because that needs to be consistent across all these 3 pillars, right? You know, the newsletter I send out, the products I build for people, the content I'm making for LinkedIn, what I'm doing on my podcast. And I think I feel like that's where I am right now. Like, what is my brand? How do I want to do it? I understand there are frameworks that help you get better engagement, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want to do it my way. And I don't know, don't want to have to do it. But I'm also realistic, you know, and I understand like there are certain recipes that do work for a reason, and you can amend them. But in an extremely long-winded way, those are my goals.
That's great. It might sound long-winded to you or seem long-winded, but what you covered in that short amount of time and the way you positioned it and where you're focused, I think is actually really concise.
Okay.
And clear, especially when it comes to creating a strategy and what are your next steps. So anybody watching this is a really good check-in moment, just to see, not that your strategy and the way you're thinking and seeing things needs to be just like Alice in terms of the details, but what do you see in the grand scheme of things in terms of what you're creating in order to build what you want to build? And you explained all that, which I think is really, really powerful. I've been on your LinkedIn page many times, and I agree. I think what you're doing there is great. So there isn't much other than just tweaking some languaging, as you said, as you're continuing to find what your brand is and what your voice is, which I think we can dive into here in a moment, maybe give some help there. and the newsletter, I think you know what you're doing there, and same kind of thing, just minor tweaks, and see what bumps engagement and what creates people, or creates the conversions along all the different levers, right? So let's just break this down real quick for everybody. You have the engagement on social media. We'll just use social media as an example. You can fit anything into social media. It could be advertising somewhere else. It could be in-person events, but whatever the traffic is, you get people's attention. Like, that's the first step, right? From their attention, can you get their engagement in some way? They watch your video, they read your article, what have you. From that point, can you get their commitment onto a list, subscribe to a channel, subscribe to your blog, join your email list, download something? Can you get some kind of engagement to where they cross that line and now they're in your ecosystem of some kind? And still, email is a more stable and controllable platform than anything out there in social media, because, as you know, Alice, social media has all these algorithms. They can change them tomorrow if they wanted to, or later today. And so we don't have any control over that. We do have control over sending emails. Of course, sometimes they get spammed out and so forth, but we still have way more control with our email list and what we can send, and what we can put into the emails, and how we can design it, and how often, and all that stuff. And for the most part, except if somebody's emails are like, if their spam filters are grabbing it, if we send an email, it's getting to an inbox. Now, they might filter it out and not open it, but if we make a social media post, it's not getting to most people's walls. It's not getting to their notifications. For the most part, it's not going where we're trying to get it to go. So the social media algorithms stop the communication on their own, and what they allow through is going to be only what benefits them, based on what creates engagement. And what you said a moment ago, I think, is really important. Aggressiveness actually is what creates a lot of engagement, and especially hype driven stuff like lose 11 pounds by tonight, or make a ton of money. Let me give you the step-by-step system of how I made all this money over a 48-hour period, and not tell you about the 12 years that built up to that period, or whatever it is out there. So there's this hypiness that creates desperate engagement, I would say, for a good section of the crowd. Yeah. And then there's the drama and controversy and conflict that creates another kind of attention and engagement on social media. And then there are people who genuinely follow and are loyal to whatever the source is. So one of my questions for you is, do you have anybody that you follow that is doing it their version of my way? Like what you said, you just want to do it your way. Do you see anybody who you're following, you open their emails or you read their posts, and they don't seem to be following the social media aggressive noise, hype, or any of those other things that don't resonate with you?
Yeah, there is actually this one woman I really like following. She does lots of videos. She runs like an accounting firm, and she has a lot of followers and a lot of engagement. And she just does these like quite long, rambling videos. And she's just something, wow, she's so lovely to watch. She's not like all dolled up. She's just like very natural. And there's always a point to her story. But often people are like, it has to be short, it has to be to the point. And there are these two women I follow, and one is really short and to the point, and then this one is long and rambling. And I thought it's so interesting to see the contrast, and that actually they're both doing really well. And this particular woman, yeah, she's just so, I just really enjoy watching her. she'll be like, oh, the kids, they're driving me crazy today. Oh, it's raining outside. But, you know, you just got to do it. You just got to get up and you got to do it. She's a bit Cockney English. That's my terrible Cockney English accent. You know, and there is always like a point to her story, but it's very personal and about her. And yeah, I suppose that her.
Perfect. Okay. So what I was going to say earlier, you just confirmed, because one of the ways that we can break through some of all that noise is to do something different that's unique to us. And this ties back to what you said a little while ago. You just want to be with the people. You want to perform. And so, and you're great on camera. You've got performance in your background, which means you've got distinctions that you can teach people about as well. You can use analogies with your background in theater and performing arts and song and dance, and you can actually do some of that stuff and really kick it to another level. I remember one of the earlier influencers on Periscope. You guys remember Periscope? That was the first live engaging video platform. You don't remember that, Alice?
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
It's been gobbled up now. I think it's still around. I think I was on it maybe 2 years ago, but it was basically Facebook Live before Facebook created that platform. So Periscope, I believe, they might not have been the very first one, but they were the first famous one where you could actually engage with people. And it was so novel back then. It was wild. It was like 2013, 2014, maybe 2015, I think is when it started to get really common. Well, this one woman, she would start every Periscope video with a dance session. And she would just dance for like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And she's like, hey, everybody, you know, I'm just going to dance for a while. So while you guys are coming in, you know, and she's playing her old school music, and it just gave life to her sessions and it made it distinct. And now she's in flow and rhythm. And, you know, part of what we can do, and you will love this because of your training and just what you, I think, enjoy, is to be entertaining in some way. You know, perform for the people in some way. Give them something that's not just the dry information that is all over social media a lot of times. So this for you, Alice, I really think is going to be one of your things for a number of reasons. All of that I just said, but also your target client, I think. I know your target client so far, and a lot of the women that you've been attracting are women who are in leadership positions already. They're corporate women. They're accomplished to a large degree, and you're speaking to them about, you know, all of that, right? Like being fulfilled and happy and aligned and all that stuff, and not just stay stuffed into this success box, whatever that looks like, whether it's in the corporate world or whatever. I believe that most of those women have an inner performer in them also, which is why they're successful. I think most people who are successful at a certain level have a performance in them. That doesn't necessarily mean it's theater performance or singing, but there's some drive to perform and or to create, and success has a way of blocking that. You know, success has a way of boxing it up and suppressing that. So you showing up as a successful woman who can speak the corporate leadership language, but also sing a little bit, dance a little bit, you know, add a little bit of color, like literally or figuratively, to their lives, that's going to cause a following similar to you following these two women that aren't playing by the rules. I want you to follow them even more, like with even a different intention. What are they actually doing? When do they do their videos? You know, you already know that one is more long-winded and one is more short and to the point, but I want you to start studying both of them from a creative standpoint and a marketing standpoint and a messaging standpoint and anything else that you can pay attention to. So even like you said, you told us in a matter of 15 seconds, telling us about this one woman that she's talking about her kids going crazy, but sometimes, you just got to do it. So what does that mean? You as a mom, you appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so just pay attention to anything that really attracts you, because what's going to attract you will attract people like you when you do it.
Ooh, that is so good. Yeah.
So what's landing for you? You obviously had a different reaction right there.
Yeah.
And Michelle, if there's anything you want to add to the details or anything, then please do. But Alice, what's landing for you?
Just what you said there, because someone said this to me before, like when you're on LinkedIn, don't just scroll like as a user, be commenting as, I don't know what the right word is, as a business person, whatever. And I couldn't quite understand, like, how do I do that? Like what's the shift? And what you said, it's so true. Like if I'm watching something that speaks to me, then not to say I would do a copy and paste, but that means if I am speaking about the same thing, then the people I want to work with will be attracted to it.
Right.
It's like, it's still just digesting in my head, but I know it's like suddenly it's clicked, because obviously the more I show myself, the clients I'm currently attracting, they're just so my people. They're all just so gorgeous because I'm just being me. And then I'm getting people who I just love working with. So it makes sense that if I'm watching people online that I really love, that I really enjoy, that I really connect with, then if I would be talking about or doing something similar, then I would attract more people like me, and I want to work with people like me. Yeah, that's like the penny has dropped.
Yeah, it's shockingly simple when we understand what you just said back, that your unique and authentic magnet is going to attract the people who are attracted to the magnet, and it's going to repel everybody else. And so much of our marketing, and maybe the most valuable thing about our marketing, especially early on, is to repel the people that are not attracted to it, so that we can deal with the people who are attracted to it. But so many of us are afraid of the idea of pushing people away.
Yeah.
So we don't want to do that. And because we don't want to push people away, we don't do the things that will actually pull people in. Yeah. That are meant for us, that are attracted to our authentic magnets. And so I love what you said, that you want to do it your way. You've got this desire to be with the people, and you can't on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or any of the other platforms you might choose to do this with. You can't literally be in person on those platforms, but that's the next best thing. And who knows, maybe you even do like an online retreat. I mean, we're doing online summits, and you've probably been to many of online events. And I mean, we're holding our certifications online. We're doing 5-day events online. So like you can actually do quite a bit online and give people an experience. And especially now that the world is opening up a little bit more, giving people an in-person experience similar to what you just had in your certification. There's so many people that are missing that. And now's an opportunity for you, and for anybody watching this, for those of you that are resonating with any of this, we actually do have an opportunity on the other side of all of the disruption to attract the people who've been missing all of that connection. I think most businesses, I was just talking to a guy just the other day, wildly successful seminar leader. He used to do seminars with 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 people in a room. He would have people like Tony Robbins speaking on his stages, and who knows how many millions of dollars. And I just saw him the other day and asked him if he's going to go back to live events, because over the course of the last couple of years, everything has gone indoors. You know, many of you might have seen those huge studios that some of the big people
Oh yeah.
are, you know, with hundreds of TV screens and all that stuff. And so this person is now doing these massive events. And I said, are you going to go back to live events? And he goes, I don't know why I would. Like he said, I just had 60,000 people or some crazy number like that on a paid event where we were in the studio. And that's awesome. And I'm not saying anything negative at all with judgment toward him.
Right.
From a business standpoint, why would he? Like, why would you go from 60,000 to 10,000 or maybe only 5,000 now? And all the expenses that come with it and all the travel that comes with it and all the extra stuff that comes with it. Why would you do that? So I get it from a business standpoint. And those are some of the things that we're considering in our company. The reason I'm breaking all of that down is because a lot of the businesses are not going to go back in person because it doesn't make financial sense. That's where you step in. Because there is an opportunity, there's still an open space that a lot of people who've been successful or established have left. That's now open for people to come in and take. But you got to be willing to do this work. And I know you are, because of all the things that we've been talking about. And anybody else that's watching this, there's an opportunity. Like the whole world has been shifting toward convenience. But anytime something gets more convenient, it usually gets less effective also. So the value has decreased. Convenience increased, value decreased. Now we have an opportunity to go back and increase the value again. So I say all of that to highlight what you said earlier. If you love the in-person events, and I'd love for you to go back and watch this video and just watch yourself talk and watch the story that your face tells when you talk about the in-person events versus social media. I think at one point you went, you know, about social media, right? Like your whole energy told the story. Where does Alice want to be? And people want to be with Alice where Alice wants to be. So if you force yourself to stay online and follow the rules, I think that's going to translate. And people will feel, even though nobody's going to consciously go, you know what, Alice would rather be live in person, but here she is on LinkedIn. And, you know, they're not going to be able to filter this through consciously and go, Alice doesn't really want to be here. But there's an energy that's just not there.
Yeah.
When you are not in your zone of passion and you're not lit up. So I'm telling all this backstory to say that I really want you to put all of your energy toward the thing, not all of your energy now, but everything is building toward those in-person retreats that you started out with. And I know you are, because that's the way you even shared it with us. So obviously it's at the top. And I think the more that you focus on that, the more that you'll create an ecosystem that is constantly driving people to that, the quicker you'll be able to build this machine. And I challenge you to do one as soon as you can. Okay. Even if it's 3 people, even if it's half a day. Like it might not be the ultimate that you're thinking in your mind, but give yourself that experience and give your clients that experience. And it's amazing when something's aligned and you know what people need. It's amazing how quickly people will jump at it, how quickly people will get on a plane if they need to travel. If we have an aligned offer for something that's important enough to people, they'll want it. And so you might surprise yourself actually how ready you are and your messages and your businesses to actually do an in-person retreat sooner than you might think. So I wouldn't rush you into that. And I'm not trying to push you off that cliff, but I also want you to challenge yourself and don't, because here's what a lot of people do in this context of building a funnel or creating products is we know there's this thing that we want to build to. And because we don't have the confidence or the certainty, or we don't think people are going to go there, or we think it's going to take a long time, we actually cause it to take a lot longer than it could, just because that's sort of how we situate it in our mind. And then the in-person retreat is something that you're doing in the future. And I don't think this will happen with you, because you're just a different, you're just a different kind of person and a different kind of entrepreneur. But what happens with a lot of people is we put that thing in the future, and then 2 years later, it's still sitting on the future shelf because we're not actively challenging ourselves to create it, because it's just, I'll get there later, and I'm not ready yet, and I haven't coached enough people yet, and I haven't done the online course yet, and I haven't done all these things yet, right? So I think the way you've laid all this out is wise. Please don't take anything that I just said as a challenge in terms of like the validity of what you're saying.
No, I love it.
I just want to challenge your own perception of timing as well as your own readiness.
Yeah, no, well, what's also kind of coming through for me, I'm just jotting down some ideas I'm having for a course, is
perfect. I love that.
Is it's what you say, it's also true, because if it's like it's at the top of the tree, it becomes this massive thing, and then in my mind I'm picturing this 2-day retreat in Hawaii or something, and it's true, I could just get 3 people in a room for half a day and do like a reconnect with yourself, and charge people whatever, 30 euros for half a day. I mean, really basic.
You could honestly just have them buy you lunch.
Like, yeah, exactly. And then it actually
whatever it takes.
It takes the fear away of this massive thing, because you've kind of done a small version of it. So it's no longer this dream in your head. You've actually stepped into the reality. And then it's just making me think, and I don't want to redo my goals, but my idea of doing like the digital product was that I would have passive income. Yeah. That was actually the real goal. Do I need to have that and an in-person course to get to the 2-day retreat? But I feel I don't need to worry about that too much right now, because before any of that, the first thing I do need is an engaged audience. And the more I go down that route, the more the rest of the goals will materialize. Maybe things will shift, that's fine, but I know where I'm heading.
Bingo. Yeah, that's the main point of all of this, is to get it in motion. So I do want to help you get some clarity. But Michelle, I asked if you had anything to say a little while ago. I want to give you space if you still do.
Yeah, well, I'll just speak to the last thing that you had just said, Alex. First of all, I love the concept, and I want to speak this directly to anybody that's listening, right? Like the purpose of having these goals in place, one of the things that we teach in our programs is just to get in motion, to be able to take action. So I love that you said, like, I just have this, I'm open to it changing. Maybe it won't change, but like, let me just get in motion. So that's awesome. And one of the benefits about doing what Sean suggested, and I love it, I actually had written it down. I'm like, do one ASAP, is that when you get in that experience, it actually oftentimes becomes much more clear what the pre-steps need to be. Yep. Meaning, like when you're in the retreat, you might have a better, now I know what needs to be in that in-person course. And then when you're doing that in-person course, like, okay, so in order for them to get here, now I know what this digital product. So instead of kind of going from the bottom up, you can work from the top down, which is, in my experience, just a much more powerful and influential way to create a funnel like this. So I love that idea. The other thing that came up for me when you were even talking about being lit up with doing the in-person events is I was thinking it's not just in person, it's like a person. So one of the things that I think a lot of us get in when we're showing up online is we stop. It's almost like we we start performing, but not in like the creative way that we were talking about earlier, but we're like, oh, I'm online now. And so let me use my online voice and let me curate these online images. And we show up in this way that's actually not us being a person. Like the woman you're talking about that you follow, who talks about how annoying her kids are, and also, but sometimes you just gotta grab your chapstick and just do your thing, you know, even like alongside of all of that. And so I wrote down that distinction because the in-person, right? It's you're a person in those moments and you're connecting with other people. So if we can bring any of that energy into what you are creating online, I imagine that would be more distinct and set you apart from all the other people who are shouting. What was that thing you just
like
said?
it's so true. And why is that? Like there is the what you said about that when you're online, it's like I'm a professional and I'm online, and I think it's like also because you can see yourself, you're like, look focused, don't look anywhere else, like keep, you know, like I mean,
Like,
often
do I look angry? Like, do I smile more? Like,
keep smiling. Like, I mean, I often turn my camera off when I do coaching sessions because it's so unnatural to see your face. And obviously it is a different energy when it's online than when it's in person. But yeah, it's so true. Is it, how can you bridge that? Like, if you are just a bit more relaxed, I don't know, whatever it might be for each individual. Yeah, it just really, it's very true, because I do, for instance, I have some coaching sessions that are in person and some that are online, and there's definitely a difference in energy. And even sometimes when I make videos for LinkedIn, I'm like, this isn't me. I'm like, I don't know, I feel that I can't quite find my voice, that it would just be like if I would suddenly hit record now and be like, hey, okay, so here we are today, then that would be me. But it's, you go into this weird place, like, do you know what you're going to do today? Right. You know, I don't know. Has life thrown you a rock? Like, I don't know. What are you doing?
right.
So that just really hit me. How can I? And it should be the simplest thing. Just be you. Why is it so hard?
Because we don't see a lot of people doing it. That's why it's hard for me anyway. So we're trailblazers, right? In that, which is why I believe, and Sean certainly speak to this, especially if I'm right. You can keep quiet about it if I'm wrong. I think that's part of why he asked the question, right? Of like, who do you follow, right? In this, like, who do you follow that is doing it differently, that you love? And I actually really enjoyed, I know Sean mentioned the moment where you talked about the live event. I totally agree about how your body lit up. I enjoyed watching you speak about the one woman that you follow, because it seemed to me like you genuinely were like, I just like her. Like, you didn't say those words exactly, but that's how I
kind of love her, and I don't know why. It's like, I just really love watching her stuff.
Yeah. I love that for you. And to add to what Sean said earlier about follow with intentionality, not just on like the creative, the marketing, the messaging. Pay attention to like the essence of what attracts you, because it's not always the details, right? Like, take authenticity. I believe authenticity and vulnerability are magnetic. Sean's authenticity is not my authenticity, right? So if I try to do Sean because people love him and they think he's amazing, then that's just another version of performing. So if I can start to look at, okay, like, what is it that I really like about this person, right? Like, oh, she talks about her kids, or she talks about her pets, or she talks about what's going on in her day. Then we can say, okay, what's the essence of that, right? Like, oh, she's being real. She's being like honest. She's being authentic. She's showing up as she is. So then what we can duplicate is the authenticity, the honesty, the showing up as she is. And sometimes it also might be the messaging. Like, sometimes it might be, no, I really love the topic, right? But especially those things that are more about the essence, dig deeper than just the details. What would be my invitation? What are the details? And then ask yourself, what's the energy or the essence underneath that? Another thing that I've learned to do is like opt in to their stuff. If she's offering like a newsletter, like enroll in it. If she's offering, you know, sometimes you might even consider purchasing a course, like just learning, like how are they teaching and what kind of people are in their audience and in their community, and what are they presenting. There's so much that I've learned from doing that that I think is incredibly valuable. Another thing is to keep like I think they call it a swipe file. I just call it stuff I love. And so what are the emails that you open, right? What are the things that got you to read it, right? What are the social media posts that really got your attention? What are whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's articles, blogs, is it videos? What are the things, the content that you really liked? And then the same thing can apply the details and the essence, right? So it might not just be it was the topic of goal setting. But man, it was how Sean broke it down in this way that I've never heard it broken down before. He added a live demo with it, or he spoke about it real. And I felt like when I was reading his email, it was like he was in a conversation with me instead of talking at me. So then you can pull apart the energy and the essence as well as the details, and then decide from there what you want to bring in, because the things that do resonate with you, to just repeat that because I thought it was so powerful. What attracts you is definitely going to attract people like you too. Yeah.
I love all of that. That's really true, powerful, and useful. It's actually stuff I can start to do now. And what you say about the essence, yeah, because you're right, you don't want to do another copy, because then it's just copy. It's that, what's the depth beneath there? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for all that, Michelle. And what I just wrote down that I think is missing for so many people, most people, I think, is just come alive. Whatever makes us come alive, whatever we're actually passionate about doing. And passion is different for different people. So it doesn't mean, like motivated, passionate necessarily, but whatever your level of being alive is, that's what you owe to yourself, I think. And that's also what will attract other people. So the essence that Michelle's talking about with these people that you specifically follow, Alice, there's an aliveness there. There's an authenticity there. There's not performing for the camera and have all the hair and makeup and lighting and all that stuff done. It's just, this is a glimpse into my life. And I think, well, what I believe to be true, not just what I think. And I believe it to be true just because of my own experience, but talking to so many people, is that if you build a business only according to what other people give you permission to do, you will never be in your business. And if you are not in your business is useless when it comes to coming alive, because it never will be. Nobody has written your recipe. If the recipe already exists, it wasn't written for you. And yet we're following so many other recipes that weren't written for us. And yet we hope that it creates something that's going to make us happy. And I totally appreciate, and I'm not trying to be dismissive or judgmental toward anybody that's on that path, because I do think that's part of the early journey. When you mentioned a few moments ago, like, why do we do this? Why do we get all stiff and blah, blah, blah? I just think that's part of the process, honestly, because I used to do that as well. And Michelle used to do it. And almost everybody I know had some version of that. Right. And I think it's because for most people, the first step, or one of the early steps to getting visible or to sharing whatever it is that you create, or, to becoming a leader or whatever, the first step is we got to just get in the spotlight however we can. And if that means that we're going to get all buttoned up, like I enjoy and cringe at the same time looking at a lot of my earlier videos and speaking events. And I used to always wear a suit and tie, and I don't remember last time I wore a suit and tie now, because I just won't do it, because it's not me, unless I can't get in somewhere, unless I have a tie on. But I look back at myself, and I was just wanting to fit in. I was trying to prove myself. I was trying to look the part and act the part. But you know what? I was doing it on stage. And then when you do the work enough to feel that this isn't actually you, at a certain point, we're going to do some version of this where we're just like, I just want to do what I want to do. I've been doing what they want me to do, or I've been doing a version of somebody else for a while, but I actually think that's part of what we need to experience to give ourselves that soul exhale where we just go, you know what? It's time to strip this stuff away. And you were talking about that before we got on camera, your experience, just like, let's just take the layers off, let's just be authentic. And I think the majority of us, because of the way we've been programmed as humans, we need to put somebody else's suit on first, some version of it. And part of that is because we don't even know what ours is. So if we were to tell people, the first thing you got to do is get wildly authentic and vulnerable and just show the world who you are, and then do your first Facebook Live, right? We would never cross that line, because we don't even know what that is until we do it not as us for a while. And for some people, that's a very short journey. For some people, it's decades. But the more we can just get in motion, the more we're going to learn. I think Michelle said it earlier, some version of the point of this process that we're doing right now, and the point of goal setting in general, is simply to get in motion and to learn. And you started this whole thing out by saying that, Alice, so this isn't anything new to you. Learn. What's your message? What's your brand? What's your voice? And truthfully, especially after what you've experienced over the last couple months acutely, and over the last couple weeks, even more acutely, you don't know. You can't know what that voice actually will be. You have a best guess, and go with your best guess. Whatever that is now, let that be your voice for today. And that's truthful, and that's valid. When most of us think about goal setting, or we think about brands, or we think about our tagline, I mean, I literally remember spending hours and hours and hours over days and days and days coming up with a tagline. I remember, I think Jack Canfield had a tagline that says America's #1 success coach or something. And Tony Robbins had a tagline back then. I don't remember what it was. And I saw all these people with taglines. So I thought, I need my tagline. What's my tagline? And
what year was this in your business?
2006, right out of the gate.
Okay.
Right? I need a tagline. And I spent so long, I don't know how many different business cards I got created with these different taglines. And to this day, I don't have a tagline. None of them fit. And 17 years later, I still don't have a tagline. So how important is that tagline? How important is a lot of the stuff that we think we need in order to grow? The answer to that across the board for most of us, especially early in our journey, is it's not important. The technical stuff that we're wanting, whether it's equipment or the size of the videos or all the stuff that we're searching for the answers to, they're only going to be found on the other side of a lot of action. And you started out saying that, which I celebrate. And it's really liberating, isn't it? I mean, it feels like you've had a couple shifts just in this call. It's really liberating to go, I can just do what I want to do.
Yes. I was just thinking that
and then just explore.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm at a place in the business now where no one's going to get confused You know, as much as my ego might like to think I have a massive following, no one's going to know. Like, you know, if suddenly you switch up your voice, no one's going to be, oh my God.
They're going to know it about as much as they would notice if you were wearing a new eyeshadow color.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's about as much as they'll notice. Yes.
I
That's
hate
freedom.
nobody notices my eye color changes.
I know.
So
you get it.
I confirm that. Yeah, I get it. So I want to go back to something that was said maybe 15, 20 minutes ago. We were talking about the retreats, and Michelle said something like, you know, when you do the retreat, you'll get to know what the steps are before that. Like, what's my, what's the course that I might need, or what's a product that I might need. Another thing that you'll also know in that same concept is the marketing and the messaging that you need to do. So for instance, one of our clients had an event, we supported her and just do the event, right? And as the event got closer, she was doing all kinds of various marketing, you know, convenient stuff, not with any judgment toward her. She was just doing what she was taught and doing what she saw, and nobody had registered for the event. And this is kind of an amalgamation or a collection of multiple clients actually kind of told into one story. So some of these details are sort of combined here. But the event didn't have anybody at it for a couple of the clients, and for another client or two, there were just a few people there. But what happened was, for both, whether nobody showed up or a few people showed up, there was a leverage in how good this event actually is, and what people could experience if they were actually here. And then quite often the most valuable thing, or one of the most valuable things about all of it, is, what do you wish you would have done? Mm-hmm. Looking back, what do you wish you would have done? And people go, I wish I would have started marketing earlier. I wish I would have sent more emails. I wish I would have had a download. I wish I would have gotten on the phone with people individually, because when I did get them on the phone, the event was like tomorrow, and they couldn't do it tomorrow, but they would have done it if it was next week. And so all of the looking back lessons of the first event, even when nobody showed at the first event, made the second one better. So my mantra when it comes to events is, the purpose of your first event is to make your second one better. That's the point. The point is not to make a huge profit. The point isn't necessarily to have 20 people, 50 people, 100 people. If all of that happens, awesome. And what matters the most, though, is the lessons that you learn. So if you were to do a different version of the event, like you were saying, just invite some people over, we're just gonna have some food and talk about some stuff, you're going to learn a lot more by doing that than by holding this 2-day retreat in your mind as a someday thing. And somewhere along the way, learn those lessons rather. You'll actually learn the lessons faster by doing a half-day retreat like now, because we're moving there, right? So that's not only for you, Alice, but everybody that's watching this. If the goal is learning more than earning, then you'll do things differently. You'll do it with a different energy. It'll actually be more attractive to the people because they'll feel that, and you'll go faster, and you'll almost always create more of the results that you want. So this isn't a message of forget those goals, just settle for a life of less. No, it's actually, this is the way to remove the pressure that will actually get you in a different space energetically, that will attract more people who will pay more money and get the things that you're wanting to get, if we shift the way we're in the process, right? So it looked like you just had some kind of a reaction a moment ago. What was that?
Two things. One, changing the intention to learning. That's just like, there's no pressure. I don't have to pretend to know what I'm doing then. Right. I don't have to pretend to be an expert. I can just be like, hey, look, I'm putting together this half-a-day thing, whatever event or whatever it is. it's my first time. Do you want to come and experience it with me? It's so, these little things. It's such a simple shift, but it changes everything. And then if I would actually approach so much of like, it's just to learn, it removes a lot of the barriers. And then the other thing, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm really excited. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I'm now thinking I really want to do this little half-day event in like maybe a few months.
Awesome.
I'm getting like really excited and worked up now.
Well, that's exciting. That's really exciting. And after all of this, there are some actual targets and numbers that we can put on top of this. But again, this is what's missing for most people. So it's like what we've just been discussing and dissecting and pulling out of you, Alice, is the cake, right? Now let's put some icing on it. Now let's actually put some targets. And my experience is the targets are not that difficult, and they happen quicker, and you don't have pressure around them. So now if we go back to this idea of you doing a podcast and you doing a newsletter and you focusing on LinkedIn, and maybe you already have this written, or maybe this is something new, or maybe you just want to adjust it for whatever reason. What could be your, let's say for the next 3 months, what could be your 3 months production and publishing and promoting goals? Meaning maybe you want to produce 3 articles a week, and you want to commit to publishing 2 of them on LinkedIn. Maybe you want to publish a podcast once a week, starting in a month. And because of that, you want to produce 5 podcasts per month, give yourself a little bit of buffer room. I'm just giving you examples. You can say whatever you want, but let's at the very least get this in before we end the session, that we want to get some specific targets that you can actually put on your calendar and go toward and commit, and then having this sense of progress and accomplishment.
Yeah. So actually I wanted to set myself a challenge for April that I would do 3 videos and 2 posts every week on LinkedIn, because I want to move more towards video. I already post like 4 times a week, like as a minimum, but I wanted to do like a 30-day challenge just to push myself and to get into rhythm and flow. So I would probably extend that. Let's say I would do that definitely for a month, see what happens, and then continue. Basically, I have quite a few targets for LinkedIn, which is, half an hour engagement, connection with people, but definitely like 5 posts a week.
Perfect.
And to really experiment. I think the intention behind that is now to really experiment with what is my voice now, and experiment with doing more video, because I do really enjoy that. I don't know how detailed you want me to go. Maybe that's fine, because I do have like targets for how many new connections and how many.
Yeah, let's hear it. Absolutely.
Okay. Hold on, let me just pull up my document. So per week, my goal is to do to invite like 3 people for a seeker interview and 2 people just for a conversation. So let's say it's like 5 people to invite for a conversation. Some are seekers, some are just, we've had a back and forth. Maybe they've said they're struggling with something and I'm like, hey, let's jump on the phone. I want to do 5 connection requests every week. I want to have 2 introduction conversations every week. I can't actually control that, obviously, but actually as in speaking with 2 people every week who are potential clients. Send a newsletter every week. So that's my newsletter. Like every week I send my newsletter. That's already something I'm doing and want to continue doing. And then I said every 2 weeks, I want to write a blog and post it. So that would be 2 a month that I want to write and post a blog. And those are my LinkedIn and sort of newsletter weekly goals. And then for the next 3 months, what I would say in the next month, I really want to complete this quiz so that I have this opt-in to get people on my newsletter. So it's not like an ongoing target, but like I want that done by the end of April. It's been dragging for so long. And then I would say I definitely want to create another 2 products over the next 3 months. So by the end of, in 3 months, I do have 3 different opt-ins. Because the idea is I will put them on my LinkedIn posts and be like, hey, you know, if you like this content, like, then maybe you would want to do this quiz, and then they join my newsletter.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have another goal, but I just don't know if it's a bit much. Like, maybe I'll leave it for now. No, I'll leave it for now. It's around my newsletter that I feel I could do more with the people who are on my newsletter. Like, for instance, like what you're doing, you know, hey, watch my video, comment, you could get a free coaching session, but maybe I leave that for later because I think I've got quite a bit going on, but that is something I feel I could do more of. And then my podcast, like definitely in a month, I want it set up, like has to be set up. And then for the next 2 months, yeah, that I would, it's hard to set a target back because I don't know how much work it takes, but I suppose ultimately I want to be doing at least 1 release a week. Otherwise, I don't want to say what's the point, but
yeah,
the goal would be to do 4 to release. I don't even know what the wording is, what the correct language is.
Yeah, that works. Like publish it, get it out there to people.
Yeah, exactly. And
okay.
I feel really scared saying it, but like maybe to chuck in a half-day event. Things would have to be in June because I'm away in May. Let's do it. I'm going to put that down. A half-day event for June. Woo.
Like it.
bit nervous.
Awesome.
You were nervous for a few seconds and then you're like, let's do it.
Whatever. I'm just learning. There's no pressure. So those are my solid goals. And I think really what's important, what's really come out of this conversation is everything around my brand and everything I'm doing on LinkedIn, which will filter into my newsletter, into my podcast, is finding my voice, watching with, you know, everything you said about finding the essence and experimenting. And exactly what you said, Sean, you know, just do what you love. So just be you. And I think I'm really I'm actually really excited right now about experimenting with that and kind of being like, whatever, throw the rule book out of the window. It's like, I've learned all this stuff. It's there, but now I can kind of just let it go a bit and just experiment a bit more with the knowledge that I have already.
Bingo. Yeah, it's so freeing to have that permission, you know, it's really permission. Nobody needs skills to be themselves. They just need permission. And of course, there are things that we need to learn about, you know, podcast setup and some of those things, but it's easy to learn the technical stuff.
And we need to learn a lot less than we think we do, because honestly, you really could do it without a microphone, just with your cell phone. There's so much information out there that we actually think we need a lot more than we do.
Yeah. Amen to that. And then one seed that I'll plant for you, I want you to think about this as you're producing all this stuff, because this is a lot of stuff and you can repurpose a lot of this. So you can do a video about whatever topic, like what's a video topic that you want to do for LinkedIn, let's say.
Oh God, you've put me on the spot now. I think taking the pressure off yourself when you want to make a shift in your career. That like people think they have to do everything right now, and you don't, to give yourself time and space.
Excellent. So you can use your phone and just record directly into your phone. All phones have some kind of voice recording. You could get a simple microphone if you don't already have one and just go directly into your computer. I do think it's important. So sound is really important. Sound is actually the more important trait than sight on videos. People will forgive what they see more than they'll forgive what they can't hear clearly. So investing in a microphone is smart if you're going to do videos or audios, and $30, $50 will get you a microphone that has pretty solid like podcast quality. So it doesn't have to be a lot, but as long as you have that audio component of good quality, then you could do a video. There's all kinds of platforms that you can do, or you could just record right out of your own computer. You can record right on Zoom, just record yourself. There's all kinds of ways to get it done. You can do that video. You can record, 50 minutes, and you can speak to somebody else if you want. Michelle and I are primarily doing discussion videos. You've seen a bunch of them. Or you could just speak directly to the camera with yourself, whatever is going to be, your way to create. That video can then be uploaded to LinkedIn. It could be a 5-minute video. It could be an hour-long video, whatever it is. By the way, a podcast can be any length of time also. There's a lot of people that think all the podcasts that I listen to are an hour, so mine need to be an hour. There's a lot of podcasts that are 3 hours, and there's podcasts that are 7 minutes.
Yep. I just listened to one the other day.
There are no parameters, right? It truly is like, what do you want? And what are you drawn to? Whatever that is, do that. So you could film a 10-minute video, upload it to LinkedIn for one of your video posts, grab the audio. Now you've got a podcast, same audio, take the audio or the video and then turn it into an article. So you could take one thing that you produce and create 3 different products and knock out multiple of these creations that you want with one thing. Now, each one of them is going to be slightly different. Like with a podcast, you might need to add a little bit on the front or add a little bit on the back, or edit some of the stuff if it's really only related to the video. Like if you're going to show something on the video, that's not going to play well on the podcast, but those are relatively minor edits. It's so much easier to do that than it is to create the videos and then create the articles on a different topic and then create the podcast on a totally different topic. You might create yourself into a pattern where you're doing that later, but my suggestion to you is repurpose some of this, if not most of this, and you actually can get these goals accomplished, especially if you're repurposing.
And just a question on that, because I love that idea, and I know I need to plan more to repurpose. If LinkedIn's my only platform, then would I put the article and then a few days later the post of the video, and then a few days later the blog? Am I overthinking it that people are going to be like, oh, you've already played that? But no, because not everyone sees my content. Or
both of those are true. I think, yes, we overthink everything. We think that people are watching all the videos, or the people that watch the video wouldn't listen to the podcast, or they wouldn't read the article. And there are people that'll do all of them, especially if it's important. I mean, we know that we got to consume things more than once. So if I'm interested in something, I might watch a video and then listen to the same exact audio and then read an article on it. And I might see the video and not watch the video. I want to watch the video. I just don't watch the video. And then I see the email 4 days later about the same topic. I'm like, oh, that's the video that I want to watch. Oh, but she has an article. I'm just going to read the article, because I might be in a place where I can't watch a video right now, but I can read an article, or vice versa. Somebody might see the article, go, I don't want to watch the article, but I'm riding my bike now and I'll listen to the video or listen to the podcast. So the more that we give people more doors to open according to their learning styles and consumption styles, the better. And if we stagger them, that's usually going to be better also. So that you post the article, the next week post the video, the following week post the audio, or any combination of that.
And actually, I suppose it also just solidifies your brand message. Because then
Yes.
they're hearing, sorry, I interrupted you. They're
No,
hearing
perfect.
the message. So it reminds them, oh, this is what she does. This is what she does.
Yeah. Repetition is really important. A lot of us think that when we're being repetitive online, that we're being intrusive or that we're being irritating. And like, if you saw that woman that you were telling us about, like, how often does she do videos, would you say?
Probably like 3-4 times a week, I think she does videos.
Okay. So if she doubled that and she was doing 10 videos a week, would that irritate you?
No, I just wouldn't watch what I didn't want to watch, and I'd watch what I wanted to watch, I suppose. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Right. If we're aligned with something, more of it is not going to irritate us. We might discern and go, okay, well, I just don't have enough time, but we're not going to get irritated if it's something that we're aligned with. So the reason that a lot of us don't want to promote more is because we think it's going to irritate people, but it's only going to irritate people that aren't interested in the thing anyway. Like if you're in, I mean, I'm not talking about, 10 emails a day. Of course, there's a line, but the reality is more than that thought. What's real is, I actually heard it quantified rather the other day, that it's estimated that we are exposed to about 4,000 marketing messages every day. So if you take out the 6 to 8 hours that we're sleeping and maybe the few hours that we're not being exposed to whatever because we're eating or because we're meditating or what have you, if you were to break that down like per hour and just every social media session or every time we open our inbox, I mean, we're being assaulted with marketing messages. And because of that, if we just send something out because we want to be nice and not intrusive once a week, twice a month or whatever, then the reality is nobody knows, like almost nobody even knows that you're putting anything out because they're just not seeing it. And repetition is actually one of the things that creates trust. And as you just said a moment ago, you alluded to it, people know what your brand is because they continue to see, and they know that you're going to continue to show up, and they know that they can count on you. They know that you're consistent. That's a big part of leadership. It's not just showing up every now and then. It's being consistent. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean multiple times a day for everybody. So I want anybody watching this and listening to it, find your version of consistent. It might not be Alice's. Alice has a unique combination, and she's already producing and she's already getting clients from LinkedIn. And so there's already a brand and there's already a rhythm to a degree, right? So, you, Alice, are increasing that. So I don't want anybody to get caught in the details, but catch the concepts. Consistency is one of the concepts for trust. We don't trust people based on one thing that we see them do hardly at all anymore. We need them to keep showing up. And then, they're going to get through our filters because we're, protecting ourselves from all that stuff. Anyway, I always like to go the underwater. Let me, talk about the 90% of the iceberg that nobody's seeing. But if we understand why people behave the way they behave, then we as creators and leaders are going to do more to get in their way with something that they resonate with, and create more of something that brings life out of you and gets life out there, right? And so that's kind of the combo of the internal game of what we want to be doing and what we want to create. And the more we create, the more our message evolves. So I think everybody understands that intellectually. So if you believe that the more you create, the more message your message evolves, then my question is, how quickly do you want it to evolve? You want it to take a long time, or do you want it to go faster? If we know that as our message evolves, our prices are going to increase, our certainty is going to increase, our confidence is going to increase, all the opportunities are going to increase. So then the question is, you want to go slow or fast? And if the majority of the work, especially early on in our journey, is just about allowing our message to evolve, then listen, I'm going to say this, and this is for everybody, not, this actually isn't for you, Alice, to like dead on for you where you are, because you're past this, but there is a version of this for you to go forward also. But for the most part, when people are in the early stages of their journey, I hate to say this, but it's actually like a really liberating thing. Nobody's watching anyway. So make all your mistakes faster, because nobody's watching your videos. They're not reading your articles. Like just vomit all of your mistakes out when nobody's watching. Learn a lot of the stuff. Learn what you wish you would have done. Learn what programs you wish you would have had. Learn all of that stuff when you're inviting 3 people to a half-day event. It's better to learn those lessons then when you're inviting 50 people to a 2-day event. Right? Like, let's just learn faster now. Yeah. Learn more faster. What were you going to say, Michelle?
I just said in Hawaii.
Yeah.
In Hawaii. Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So everything that you said, Alice, is perfect. I mean, I wouldn't really adjust any of the numbers. I added what I would add from an energetic standpoint and from a technical standpoint to look at repurposing, but you've already done a lot of the work to create these goals and to look at what you're looking at. You've got stuff written down. So I would just want to see what gets done over the next month, 2 months, 3 months, right? You got enough clarity, get in motion, learn, keep doing the stuff. And then in a month or 2, let's see what happens. Let's see what this action produces, and then see what tweaks you can make. And when you get the 3 products that you get, one thing I would add to that is you can't make 2 products at one time. So if you want 2 products in 2 months from now, then cut that down to 1 product in 1 month from now. Mm-hmm. And then when that's done, if you still want to do another product in another month, then do that. That's just a small thing, but I think your goals are solid. Underneath all the goals is what I'm most excited about. You know, the moments that you've just come alive and said, oh, like I can do this and I can just do what I'm excited about and I can do it my way. Like that's the thing that most people don't ever get to, because they get lost in what we've been talking about. They get too lost in, I got to be perfect and I got to do it. And every post needs to create a client, and we just create all these expectations and all this pressure, and people never get out of the pressure cooker. And that's where most dreams die. Well, on that positive note, Michelle, I pass the baton to you. What are you going to do with that?
Thank you for that. Yeah, I like the testing. I did have a question. You had mentioned, or at least what I heard was that you were asking for 5 connection requests every week, right? 3 for seeker interviews and 2 just kind of other conversations. Is that right?
No, different things. So 5 new connections.
Okay.
And then 5 invitations for a conversation. So they're different things.
Got it. Okay, perfect. And then is the speaking with 2 potential clients per week, is that from, like, are you hoping that that's an outcome from one of those things?
Yes. So I would invite like 3 people for a seeker interview, 2 people for just like a chat. And I hope it would result in 2 conversations a week.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say, is just as an example to what Sean was just saying in terms of testing. So much of this we just have to do. So you might do these numbers, make these 5 new connections, do the 3 seeker interview reach outs, the 2 people, just to have the conversation, make those reach outs, and recognize that that puts you on the phone with 3 potential clients a week, which is great. Or it might be that it's 3 a month. And then you're like, okay, awesome. That's not what I wanted. So then we can adjust the other numbers, right? So that's where there's so much power in just starting here, which I think is a really powerful place to start. I agree with everything Sean just said, that I love the goals. And then what I actually have in my calendar is I go 3 months at a time, because that feels better for me, is I just make a note to like check in on my progress. Right? And I'm like, okay, let me look at what did the past 3 months yield in terms of income, in terms of new clients, in terms of how many interviews did I have? Okay, well, how many times did I post, like specifically asking for people to jump on my calendar? Okay, well, that actually wasn't enough, right, for me to get the results that I want. And that's not like a beat self up moment. It's just data, right? So now we have that information and we can make an adjustment. Now, maybe there needs to be 5 people that you're asking for secret interviews and 3 people for conversations, and that gives you the results. But none of that can be known without testing. So I love the fact that you've picked numbers, you've got things that are in place. And this is for anybody that's watching. Sometimes when you don't have the information, you just have to guess. Like, you just have to pick something, pick a number, and then take action on that. And then the action that you take will actually give you the looking back, right, lessons that Sean spoke to earlier, to say, okay, that was enough or that wasn't. And now we have controllable actions that we can adjust. So I love this for you. I think it's really, really powerful. I totally dig the energy underneath it. I think that's more magnetic than most of us realize, right? Why we're doing what we're doing is so much more important than the what that we're doing. And if we can bring some of the play, that's the word that comes up for me when you talk about the performance, and what I think is missing for a lot of the women, myself included, in my life and journey. There's so much pressure, right? And we put ourselves in a box, and the play and the performing and the pleasure and the joy, all those are the things that we end up stifling in the shoving in the box. So if we can just bring some of that energy even to your marketing, right? Even to the newsletter, and have it, I had an image like of just that's what I call, for me, it's messy. And I use this for my own, like my own branding, the way I think about myself. It's like finger paint messy. It's not messy, like sloppy all over the place, bad messy. It's good messy. It's messy, like artistic. It's messy, like I'm just willing to try some stuff. And I have those rules back there, but I'm not going to listen to them. I just want to put my hands in this and move it all around and see what happens. And so I feel that from you. And I think that energetically, to what Sean said back toward the very beginning of the call, I think that whether they'll consciously pick up on it or not, it'll be really appealing to the people that you're speaking to, because you'll possess this intangible quality that they know they don't have. And that'll be magnetic for them. Yeah. I think, anyway, we'll see, but I'm excited.
I love that. I love that last sentence you said. This intangible quality that they wish they had. And the subconscious does pick up on all of this stuff. Like, you can sense. That's why we connect with some people and we don't connect with others. Yeah, I love it. This has been so amazing. I feel like
good.
I wish it wasn't 10 p.m. at night here, and like I need because I want to like get going and start like creating stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, hopefully it's been valuable for everybody watching as well. It's the underneath stuff that actually determines whether people succeed or not. It's not just the numbers, the goals, what we put on the wall, what somebody tells us we should do. It's not. And so much of it, like Michelle said, is the why that we're doing it, not necessarily what we do or even how we do it. Why are we doing that? And that's what is going to create this attraction, but also going to make us come alive. And so if we do more of that, and then we have this mentality of we're just going to try every month, every week, every 3 months, whenever it is, we're going to look at the numbers, track, adjust without judgment, without beating yourself up, without all these pressurized expectations. That's what unlocks the creativity inside of humans. And that's what unlocks the potential success inside of a business. Most of us are too rigid and too pressurized to ever get to that point. And I'm excited to see what that looks like for you, Alice. You've already created success. I know you've already got paying clients, and you've already got a lot of certainty in your body and your message and all the things that you've gone through to create what you've already created in a really short period of time comparatively. So congratulations on all of that. And I just can't wait to see what unfolds. And some of it you literally can't currently fathom. You know, what I'm excited about is seeing what this creates, but I'm excited about the thoughts that come out of you 6 months from now that literally cannot come out of you right now because you're just not there yet. To see the opportunities around corners that you just haven't turned around yet. That's what excites me even more than what we've been talking about here. Hey everyone, so I wanted to shoot a follow-up video so that you know what has happened since we had this session with Alice. I'm actually on set here. We're doing a production short film, and I am an alcoholic father who's reuniting with his father. Can't really tell which actor is playing my dad over there. Anyway, Alice followed up with us and we asked her, how's it going? You know, since the session, she was super awesome to be able to, or be willing to film the session with you all. And so she said she didn't end up doing the retreat. However, she will do it in a few years, she said. But what she ended up doing is several workshops, and she's going to incorporate a lot of those workshops into her work. She created a mastermind, and she's going to make that a bigger part of her work. And she also recorded several podcasts, and she's going to start her own podcast session. And so she's doing great. And she said the biggest breakthrough for her has been really the inner work that she's been doing on herself. She said it's been a lot of deep inner child work, actually, for her. And she's excited, and her niche is just shifting just a little bit to a little bit more expansive than just the women that she was targeting at the time that we filmed this video. And she's still in the career niche because she firmly believes that people should have a career that lights them up and they do what they love to do. So that's the update from Alice Graves. And Alice, if you're watching this, thank you for sharing all that. And what I want to add to this is, in this industry, I mean, I think in entrepreneurship in general, a lot of people think that if you have a plan and then that plan changes, then that's a failure. Or any of the time that you spent going toward that original goal is wasted time. And it's absolutely not. In fact, early on in your career, the majority of the targets you set, you won't hit. And a huge reason why you won't hit them is because you'll pivot. Setting a goal is intended to get you in motion. It's not necessarily intended for you to achieve that goal. And in entrepreneurship, one of the most critical elements is that you take action toward a target and then pay attention to see if you're being pulled in another direction. And that's what Alice did over the last, year plus since we did that video with her. So that's one of the big takeaways I want you to have out of this video is when you're in motion and you find detours or you find more passion somewhere else, or there's an opportunity that opens up that pulls you away from what you originally planned on, that's progress, that's growth. That is not starting over again. That is not being unmotivated or undisciplined to stick to your goal. That's actually the true path of entrepreneurship. Get in motion, assess, acknowledge what's working, what's not working, and pivot. You're going to pivot way more than you're going to stick on the goals that you hit. Pivoting is a gigantic part of entrepreneurship, and that's what Alice did. So I'm so proud of her creating the goal, going for it, and being drawn into the direction that she is passionate about. And that's evolution, right? That's growth, you guys. So I hope this video has been super helpful for you. Hope there's something you can take out of the goal setting process or this follow-up video and Alice's update that will help you go after your goals, but also be open to pivot when necessary. Now, if you like this video, check out that video right there where we break down the #1 marketing strategy to get attention and then, of course, clients. Just too focused on everything that I'm focused on to not see the stuff that's in my blind spot. Yeah. So if we don't already see the stuff that's in our blind spot that will make us valuable to other people, and we're already dismissing our own value, and we don't understand that distinction is critical for this brain to go, I've never seen this before.